Kale sat in the cockpit of the exploration ship Aurora's Edge, staring at the endless stars ahead. The mission was supposed to be simple: locate the source of a strange energy signal, detected near the outer edge of the Andromeda expanse. But Kale, a human warrior trained for combat, felt a knot of unease in his stomach. Something about the signal didn't feel natural. The Aurora's Edge descended through the pale blue atmosphere of the planet. From orbit, the surface looked calm, almost empty. Rolling plains stretched to jagged mountains in the distance. And in the center of the landscape, a faint, glittering structure shone like a shard of glass. "That's our target," Kale muttered to the ship's AI. Luma, the AI's holographic interface shimmered. "Confirmed. Captain Vare, the structure does not match any known alien architecture. Sensors indicate a large energy field within," Luma replied. Kale swallowed. "Large and alive, maybe? I don't know. I just feel like we're being watched. Perhaps caution is advised," Luma said. Her voice calm and precise, Kale landed near the structure. The terrain was soft and strange, almost as if it were absorbing the sound of the ship. He stepped out in his reinforced armor, boots sinking slightly into the alien soil. The structure was more magnificent up close. Crystalline walls shimmered with colors he couldn't name. The entrance was open, tall, and inviting, yet it radiated a strange sense of warning. Kale approached slowly, hand on his plasma pistol. Every step echoed in the vast silence. "All right, Kale," he whispered to himself. "Just a scan. Get the data, leave, easy." As he entered, the air changed. It was heavier, almost like it had a heartbeat. Faint lights danced along the walls, moving as though aware of his presence. He felt a tingle on his skin, like tiny electric sparks. He paused, trying to understand. Suddenly, from a large chamber ahead, a sound echoed a low, melodic hum. Kale froze. It was not music, not exactly, but a resonance that reached deep into his mind. His helmet's sensors went wild for a moment, detecting an energy field far beyond anything humans had encountered. He moved cautiously toward the source. As he stepped into the chamber, his jaw dropped. The room was enormous, shaped like a dome, its walls covered with intricate crystal patterns that seemed to pulse with light. At the center floated a figure, the Zitherian Queen. She was tall, elegant, and unlike anything Kale had ever seen. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, and multiple translucent appendages floated around her, moving independently. She radiated authority and something else, something terrifyingly powerful. Kale realized too late that he had walked into the middle of a sacred ceremony. The Queen's attendants, creatures of varied shapes and sizes, stopped immediately. Their eyes turned to him. Every movement froze. Who is this?" Kale stammered, lifting his hands. The Queen's eyes, large and glowing, focused on him. A sudden wave of psychic energy hit Kale. He staggered but did not fall. The voice entered his mind without sound. "You are not meant to be here," the Queen said, though Kale had not heard it aloud. It was in his thoughts. Yet the prophecy, the unexpected one, appears. Kale blinked. "Prophecy? Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm just exploring." The Queen's attendants moved, but they did not attack. Instead, a soft, shimmering light surrounded Kale, lifting him slightly off the ground. Panic surged through him. "Hey, what are you doing? Put me down." But the Queen's voice remained calm, almost curious. "You are entwined with fate, whether you will it or not." Kale's mind raced. He was a trained warrior, used to danger, but this was unlike any battlefield. His armor sensors went haywire as they attempted to measure the psychic energy surrounding him. It was impossible. Suddenly, one of the attendants, a tall, serpentine creature, spoke in a strange tone. Kale could understand it perfectly, as if the chamber itself translated their words. "Queen. He is human. The energy signature is incompatible. It may disrupt the ritual." The Queen turned her glowing eyes on the creature. "Perhaps, or perhaps he is the one." Kale felt a strange pull toward her. It was not physical, yet his entire being seemed drawn to the Queen. He struggled against it. "I'm not part of your destiny," he shouted. The Queen's voice remained steady in his mind. "Destiny does not always ask permission." Yet, your courage is noted. Few of your kind would survive the initial bond. Kel's heart pounded. Bond? What are you talking about? Without warning, the Queen's energy surged. Kale felt his body lifted and suspended in midair. His thoughts blurred, images flashing across his mind, memories that were not his own. Visions of the Queen's people, her challenges, her enemies. He gasped, trying to focus. Your mind. It resists, the Queen said softly. But it is necessary. The mistake. The accident. Perhaps it is not a mistake at all. Kale tried to steady himself. I can't. I don't belong here. You belong where fate requires you, she said. The psychic pull intensified, and Kel's own memories merged briefly with hers. He saw the struggles of her people, the threats approaching their world, the delicate politics of her court. It was overwhelming, yet strangely illuminating. Finally, the energy receded, leaving Kale on the crystalline floor. He fell to one knee, gasping. The attendants remained still, watching silently. The Queen floated down, her presence calm but commanding. You will remain. For now, she said, her voice echoing both in the room and inside Kel's mind. By mistake or design, you are now part of this world's fate. How you choose to act will shape more than you can imagine. Kel's mind was spinning. He looked around, his hands shaking. I didn't even mean to be here. This was a mistake. The Queen studied him, her glowing eyes almost piercing his soul. Mistakes can create opportunity. Perhaps your unpredictability is what we need. Perhaps your human nature, your courage. Your defiance can alter the course of events I cannot foresee. Kale swallowed hard. He wanted to persist, to demand freedom. But some deep part of him knew she was right. The human's greatest strength was their ability to act unpredictably, to improvise, to survive against impossible odds. He rose slowly, still wary. So, what now? Am I trapped here forever? The Queen's energy shimmered. Trapped? No. Entwined, connected. You will see the truth of our world. Learn its ways. And perhaps, together, we can survive what is coming. Kel's armor felt heavier than ever, but his resolve hardened. He had survived countless battles across human colonies, faced alien predators, and led squads against overwhelming odds. Whatever this world or this Queen had planned, he would not bow easily. I don't know what this prophecy is, Kale said, or why you chose me. By mistake or not, I will not be useless. The Queen tilted her head, as if considering him carefully. Good. Defiance is useful. Perhaps even necessary. Kale looked around the chamber, noticing the delicate beauty of the crystals and the serene, almost sacred atmosphere. Despite the danger, he could not deny that the place held a strange allure. For the first time, he felt the weight of the universe pressing on him in a way that made every human struggle seem small yet significant as the Queen floated toward the far side of the chamber. Kale knew one thing. This mistake or twist of fate would change him forever. And whether he liked it or not, he was now part of a story far larger than himself. One that would test human ingenuity, courage, and resilience in ways he had never imagined. The doors of the chamber closed silently behind the Queen, leaving Kale alone with the attendants. For the first time, he felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. This world was alien, its people powerful and unknowable, but he was human. And humans never gave up. Kale woke slowly. The room was dim, filled with soft, glowing light reflecting off the crystal walls. His head ached, his mind felt heavy, and for a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then it all came rushing back, the chamber, the Queen, the sudden psychic bond that had shaken him to his core. The attendants were waiting silently. They did not speak, but Kale could feel their attention like a weight pressing on his shoulders. He rose carefully, testing the strange energy that still seemed to linger in the air. The bond with the Queen was not gone. It hummed faintly inside his mind, subtle but unmistakable. A voice echoed not in sound, but in thought. You awaken, the Queen said. Her tone was calm, even gentle, yet it resonated in Kel's mind like a low vibration. Good. It is necessary that you understand what has occurred. Kel's hands clenched. Understand? I don't understand anything. You forced me into this connection. I don't even know what it means. It means, she replied, that our fates are entwined. You carry a part of my life force, and I carry a part of yours. By mistake or design, it cannot be undone without risk. You will feel it, and you will know it. But it is not only danger, it is opportunity. Kale frowned. Opportunity? I'm a warrior, not a psychic experiment. I don't belong here. The queen tilted her head, as if studying him. Belonging is irrelevant. Survival, action, understanding. These are what matter. And you, human, are uniquely suited to what is coming. Your kind's unpredictability is strength. Kale exhaled slowly. He had faced countless enemies, aliens, rogue AI, even warlords, but this was something different. He was inside a living palace, bound by psychic energy to an alien queen who could see his every thought, and possibly more. And yet, part of him felt a strange exhilaration. What am I supposed to do now? He asked cautiously. You will stay here, she said simply. Observe, learn, and prepare. You will not be harmed if you act with caution. But neither will you be free until the bond is properly understood. You are part of the fate of my people now. The attendants moved forward, guiding Kale to a smaller chamber adjacent to the main hall. Unlike the grand, echoing spaces he had seen earlier, this room was calm, almost peaceful. Light crystals floated gently, illuminating everything with a soft, golden glow. You will live here, said one of the attendants, a tall figure with thin, delicate limbs and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. The queen has instructed. There will be no violence unless necessary. You may rest, but you must be ready. Kale nodded slowly. Right, rest, ready. Got it? Even as he settled. Kale could not shake the feeling of being watched, not by eyes alone, but by thoughts. The queen's presence was distant, yet persistent. Every time he tried to think, he felt her awareness brushing against his mind, gentle, but impossible to ignore. Over the next hours, Kale explored the chamber, discovering strange objects he could not identify. Crystals hummed faintly, and intricate devices, both organic and mechanical, rested on tables. He touched one carefully. The moment his fingers made contact, a projection appeared, images of the queen, her people, their cities, and glimpses of threats approaching from distant star systems. Kale staggered back, heart racing. He realized the projection was part of the psychic bond it was teaching him, showing him, warning him. This is too much, he muttered. I'm not ready for all this. Yet even as he said it, he felt a spark of understanding. The bomb was not just a trap, it was a bridge. He could feel the queen's mind, her thoughts about defense, diplomacy, and survival. He saw the cracks in her society, discontent among her court, a rising faction that sought control, and fear of the unknown predators advancing toward their homeworld. Kale's training as a warrior kicked in. Humans survived by thinking fast, adapting, and improvising. Here, inside an alien palace, he realized those skills were needed more than ever. The queen's voice entered again, calm and deliberate. Do not fear. I do not wish to harm you. Your courage, your reasoning, your unpredictability, these are necessary. Learn what you can. Prepare, and in time, you will see why fate has chosen you, human. Kale exhaled slowly. Okay, I'll try. Over the next few days, Kale began to notice how the bond affected him. He could sense the queen's emotions, her focus, her doubts, her hopes, but never fully. It was like standing near a roaring river and catching only glimpses of its currents. Yet those glimpses were enough. They guided him, warned him of danger, and hinted at strategies he would never have considered. He also began interacting with the attendants. Though their appearances were strange, some tall and serpentine, others small and winged, they were intelligent and surprisingly curious about him. Kale learned to communicate more effectively using simple gestures and words, and soon he could hold short conversations with some of them. They respected his courage and adaptability, traits rare in their world. One evening, as Kale sat by the glowing crystals, he reflected on what had happened. This was no longer just a mistake. It was a turning point. Humans were unpredictable, bold, and resourceful. The queen had tied his fate to hers, but in doing so, she had brought a new kind of potential into her world, something her people had never seen. He also noticed changes in himself. He could feel her presence more clearly now, guiding him subtly in thought and action. Sometimes, he would sense danger before it arrived. Other times, he would see potential solutions to problems he did not yet understand. The bond was not just psychic, it was a partnership in miniature. Kale began to practice small things, moving objects with the guidance of the psychic energy. Anticipating the attendants' movements and observing the palace itself, he realized the crystal walls were not just decoration, they were alive, connected to the queen, and capable of transmitting energy in ways he was only beginning to understand. Then, one day, a message arrived, not spoken, but projected into his mind with startling clarity. A voice, cold and sharp, whispered of approaching enemies. Kale tensed. The queen had not warned him yet, but the bond allowed him to sense urgency. Something was coming, something dangerous. Kale knew he had a choice: panic and wait for orders, or act. He chose to act. Drawing on his human instincts, he moved through the palace. Studying the layout and observing the guards, he could see where defenses were strong and where weaknesses existed. His mind raced with plans. By the time the queen entered his chamber, Kale was ready. He greeted her calmly, masking the adrenaline pumping through him. "You have learned quickly," the queen said, her eyes glowing softly. "Good, you are beginning to understand how our fates intertwine." Kale nodded. I think I can help. If something comes, I won't just stand here." "Good," she said. "You must. Our world depends on it, and soon you will see why your presence, by mistake or fate, is vital." Kale clenched his fists. The road ahead would not be easy. He was bound to an alien civilization, part of their fate, and yet he could feel a spark of hope. Humans were survivors, fighters, and problem solvers. If nothing else, he could offer ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough to change the future, not just for himself, but for the queen, her people, and even the galaxy. Kale sat back, letting the glow of the crystals wash over him. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was certain: his life, by mistake or design, had become part of something much larger than he had ever imagined. Kale spent the next morning observing the palace with careful attention. The grandeur of the Zitherian halls amazed him, yet he could sense a rigid order within them. Every attendant moved with precision. Every device operated according to strict protocol. Decisions were made slowly, carefully, always by committee. It was efficient in some ways, but Kale could see how it might fail in a crisis. He wandered into the training chamber, where young Zitherians practiced combat. They were graceful, strong, and disciplined, but their movements were predictable. Kale frowned. Humans were not always as elegant, but they adapted, improvised, and could turn a disadvantage into an advantage. He realized that if he wanted to survive and if he wanted the queen to succeed, he had to bring that same unpredictability to the Zitherians. The bond with the queen pulsed faintly in his mind. He could feel her awareness, her curiosity, as if she sensed his thoughts even before he formed them. Kale closed his eyes, imagining ways to test the palace defenses without alarming the attendants. His first opportunity came sooner than expected. While exploring a side corridor, he overheard a conversation between two high-ranking attendants. Their voices were low but clear in his mind, transmitted through the psychic link. "The human is unusual," one said. "He sees patterns we do not. It is dangerous, yet fascinating." The other nodded. "The queen may be influenced by him. This could disrupt our plans. Or save us." Kale frowned. "Disrupt, save? They're talking about me as if I'm some tool," he muttered under his breath. Yet the words gave him an idea. If he could prove the value of human thinking, perhaps he could gain trust and influence decisions for the greater good. He began with small things. During meal gatherings, Kale suggested slight changes to the arrangements. Observing reactions carefully, the Zitherians followed tradition strictly, but subtle variations caused efficiency to improve without causing offense. He noted which advisors were open to new ideas and which resisted. Next, he tested palace security. Using his combat and tactical training, Kale found hidden flaws, corridors with limited monitoring, energy fields that fluctuated unpredictably, and vulnerable entrances near the outer perimeter. He did not act immediately, but memorized every detail, anticipating a time when this knowledge would be crucial. Then came a real challenge. A messenger arrived, reporting tension in the outer districts of the Crystal City. Some Zithirians were dissatisfied with the Queen's rule, whispering about rebellion. The council debated endlessly, unable to agree on a solution. Kale felt the pulse of the Queen's anxiety in his mind. It was subtle, but sharp. Humans act differently, Kale whispered to himself. He stepped forward. Why don't we try a different approach? Listen to them, understand their grievances, then offer solutions they did not expect. The council turned to him. A silence fell. The attendants murmured. The Queen's voice entered his mind, calm but curious. Do you suggest that your people's methods can guide ours? Kale swallowed. Yes, sometimes acting with speed and creativity is more effective than waiting for consensus. If we adapt to their needs, they may support you willingly. The Queen's thoughts lingered on him longer than usual, as if she were weighing every word. Finally, she nodded subtly. Proceed. Kale met with local leaders, listening carefully to complaints and fears. His human empathy and improvisation allowed him to connect where traditional Zithirian logic failed. He suggested compromises that balanced the Queen's authority with the people's needs. Slowly, tensions eased. Word of Kale's intervention spread through the palace. Some attendants were suspicious, others impressed. Kale could feel the Queen's satisfaction, but also a subtle warning. She was watching, testing, seeing if he could truly handle responsibility. Days later, Kale faced another test. A rival faction of advisors attempted to manipulate the Queen, presenting false reports of threats from neighboring star systems. They hoped to provoke a military response, which could destabilize the entire region. Kale sensed the deception almost immediately. The human mind had learned to spot lies in unpredictable situations, a skill that the highly disciplined Zithirians had not developed fully. He discreetly intercepted communications and cross-checked data from the palace sensors. Sure enough, the threats were exaggerated. He approached the Queen in her private chamber. Your advisors are misleading you, he said softly, careful not to sound accusatory. The threat is not as they say. You need to act carefully, or their plans may harm your people. The Queen's eyes, glowing faintly in the dim light, studied him. For the first time, Kale noticed a subtle smile. Your insights are valuable, unpredictable, yet accurate. Proceed as you think best, encouraged. Kale began suggesting strategies for both defense and diplomacy. He combined human improvisation with Zithirian technology, proposing unconventional formations, flexible patrols, and adaptive energy shields that responded to attacks in ways the advisors had never considered. Slowly, the Queen's rigid traditions began to bend, not break. Under his influence, Kale also began working with the younger Zithirians, training them in tactics that emphasized creativity and adaptability rather than strict repetition. He taught them to think on their feet, to anticipate unpredictability, and to trust their instincts. Though some were skeptical, many were eager to learn, fascinated by this human warrior who saw the world differently. But Kale's growing influence also attracted attention from those who resented change. One evening, as he walked through the palace gardens, he noticed two attendants whispering. The human grows bold, one said. The Queen favors him. This is dangerous for tradition. Kale frowned. They're plotting, he murmured under his breath. He made a mental note to watch them, knowing human cunning could prevent disaster if used wisely. The psychic bond with the Queen intensified during this period. Kale could sense her moods more clearly, her worries, and her moments of doubt. He realized that she was not merely powerful. She was also human in her own way, prone to uncertainty, cautious, and burdened by responsibility. The bond allowed him to influence her subtly, suggesting strategies she might not have considered, encouraging her to take calculated risks. It was exhausting, yet exhilarating. Kale felt a deep connection to a civilization he barely understood. He was no longer just a visitor or a mistake. He was a partner in shaping the future of an entire world. Then came the first real test. Sensors detected a small fleet of unknown ships approaching the Zitherian system. Panic rippled through the palace. The advisors demanded immediate action: launch defense fleets, raise energy shields, prepare for war. Kale felt the Queen's tension spike in his mind. He stepped forward. "Wait," he said firmly. "We don't know their intentions. We need observation first, then a flexible response. If we act rashly, we may provoke a conflict that is unnecessary." The Queen's eyes glowed faintly, her psychic presence brushing his mind like a soft wind. "You would counsel caution against my advisor's insistence?" "Yes," Kale replied. "We adapt. We observe. We respond intelligently, not out of fear. That's what humans do when faced with a known danger." Reluctantly, the Queen nodded. The advisors grumbled but followed her orders. Kale monitored the fleet, analyzing patterns and energy signatures. Slowly, he realized that the ships were not attacking, they were scouting, observing, possibly testing defenses. His prediction was correct. A rash response would have led to a costly confrontation. The Queen turned to him, her glowing eyes reflecting both approval and curiosity. "Your ways, human ways, may be the key to survival. I did not expect this, yet it seems fate has chosen wisely." Kale exhaled, relief washing over him. It was a small victory, but a critical one. For the first time, he felt that his presence, the mistake that had bound him to this alien world, was becoming a true advantage. As he walked through the palace halls later, Kale realized that he was no longer just learning from the Queen. He was teaching, guiding, and influencing. Human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and adaptability, traits often underestimated by other species, were beginning to reshape the rigid traditions of the Zythers. And Kale knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The palace hummed with tension. Kale felt it in his bones before the alarms even sounded. The psychic bond with the Queen pulsed sharply, an urgent rhythm that cut through the calm he had grown used to. Something was coming, something dangerous. The sensors confirmed it moments later. A fleet of predatory alien ships, sleek and black, moved toward the Zitherian homeworld with purpose. These were not scouts like before. These were invaders, experienced in conquest, with fleets that had reduced dozens of civilizations to ruin. The palace erupted into activity. Guards readied energy shields. Attendants whispered frantically. And the Queen's council argued over strategy. Kale stepped forward. His human instincts flared. "Stop," he said firmly. Every head turned toward him. "We need a plan that is smart, fast, and adaptable. Charging blindly or following tradition will cost lives." The Queen's voice touched his mind. "You would guide me against centuries of strategy and protocol." "Yes," Kale replied calmly. "Your traditions are strong, but this enemy is unpredictable. Humans adapt to unpredictability. We think fast, improvise, and survive when others fail. Let me help." The Queen paused, her glowing eyes studying him. After a long moment, she nodded subtly. "Very well. You will have authority. Show me what your people can do." Kale felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, but he also felt exhilarated. For the first time, he would lead, not just advise. The palace attendants, though hesitant, obeyed his instructions. He divided the fleet of Zitherian defenders into agile squads instead of a single massive formation. He suggested traps, ambushes, and flexible energy shields that could adapt to incoming attacks rather than waiting for orders. "Move the outer defenses closer to the mountains," Kale instructed, pointing to strategic locations. "The terrain gives us cover, limits their movement, and funnels them where we want. Use the energy crystals to reflect their weapons. They won't expect it." The attendants murmured. One spoke hesitantly. "This contradicts our standard defensive protocol." Kale smiled grimly. "Exactly. That's why it will work." The Queen observed silently as Kale oversaw preparations. The bond pulsed between them, and Kale felt her thoughts blending with his. He could sense her concerns, fear for her people, worry over the fleet, and doubt that their unusual plan would succeed. But he also sensed her growing trust, subtle and powerful. When the invaders arrived, they were as Kale had predicted, confident, disciplined, and ruthless. Their black ships moved like predators in a pack, aiming to strike quickly and decisively. Kel's heart pounded, but he remained calm. Humans had faced overwhelming odds before. He just needed to make them think differently than any enemy expected. The battle began with a flash of energy. Xitherian ships engaged the invaders, following Kel's instructions rather than standard protocols. The invaders advanced, expecting a predictable defense, but they found the Xitherians using terrain and energy shields in ways they had never encountered. Energy crystals refracted blasts. Confusing sensors, smaller squads attacked from unexpected angles, forcing the invaders to split their forces. Kale could feel the Queen's excitement and fear in his mind. This is unorthodox. Will it work? It has to. Kale replied silently. Trust me. The invaders attempted to regroup, but Kale had anticipated it. He instructed Xitherian ships to feign weakness, then strike suddenly from multiple directions. The invaders, frustrated by unpredictability, made mistakes. Kale's knowledge of human tactics, ambushes, feints, improvisation gave the defenders an edge. Meanwhile, Kale communicated with the younger Xitherians he had trained. They moved with skill and courage, adjusting to the battle in real time. Human creativity and Xitherian precision merged in ways that surprised even Kale. They were no longer just defenders, they were innovators, adapting faster than the invaders could anticipate. Hours passed, and the invaders' initial advantage began to crumble. Their disciplined formations were disrupted, their energy weapons misdirected by reflected beams, and their psychological advantage eroded by the unusual tactics. Kel's pulse raced with each victory, but he knew the battle was far from over. Then came the moment of truth. The invaders deployed a massive energy cannon, capable of destroying the central city in a single blast. Panic spread through the defenders. The Queen's mind pulsed sharply in his head, fear and urgency overwhelming her usual calm. Kale stepped forward, thinking fast. Redirect the energy through the crystal channels, he shouted, pointing to the reflective pathways he had discovered during earlier exploration. It can absorb part of the blast and send it back at them. Some attendants hesitated. The protocol had never allowed this, but the Queen's mind brushed against his, a silent push. Do it. Kale coordinated the operation, guiding the attendants and fleet commanders. Energy flowed through the channels, crystals glowing brighter with each pulse. The massive cannon fired. The blast hit the crystal network, scattering in multiple directions and striking several invader ships. Chaos erupted among the attackers. The Queen's energy shimmered in Kel's mind. You have done well, human. Perhaps your presence is more than accidental. Kale felt a surge of relief and pride, but he remained focused. The battle was still raging. Using a combination of deception, flexibility, and coordinated strikes, Kale and the Xitherians slowly pushed the invaders back. He directed squads to flank, distract, and outmaneuver, relying on the humans' ability to adapt faster than the rigid invaders. By the end of the day, the invaders retreated. Their fleet had suffered significant losses, and they withdrew, wary of the unexpected defenses and the cunning of the human link forces. The palace erupted in cautious celebration. Xitherians cheered quietly, still wary but relieved. Kel's pulse slowed as he looked around, exhausted but alive. The Queen approached him, floating gracefully as always, her eyes glowed with appreciation. You have changed the course of this day, and perhaps the future. Your human ways have proven invaluable. I underestimated the potential of our bond. Kale exhaled. It's just what humans do. We survive, we improvise, and we don't give up, no matter how impossible it seems. The Queen's lips curved in a faint smile. Perhaps, and now, you see why fate brought you here. Your presence is no mistake. It is essential. Kale nodded, still catching his breath. The palace was quiet now, the glow of crystals casting long shadows. For the first time, he felt that the bond with the Queen was not a burden, but a tool, a bridge between two worlds. He walked through the palace halls, noticing small changes. Attendants who had doubted him now watched with respect. Young Xitherians who had trained under him moved with confidence. The Queen herself was calmer, more open to innovation, yet still wise and powerful. Kale realized that his human influence had already begun to reshape the traditions of the palace. That night, Kale sat in his chamber, reflecting on the day. He felt the psychic bond pulsing faintly in his mind, like a heartbeat in rhythm with his own. The bond had saved lives, altered the battle's outcome, and perhaps even changed the Queen's perspective. And yet, Kale knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers far greater than a single fleet. But for the first time, he felt truly capable not just as a warrior, but as a strategist, a guide, and a partner to the Queen. Human ingenuity had proven itself. It had turned what seemed like a mistake into a powerful advantage. Kale smiled faintly. The bond with the Queen, once terrifying, now felt like an opportunity, a chance to prove that humans could shape destiny even among the stars. As he looked out over the crystalline city, Kale felt determination settle in his chest. Whatever challenges came next, he would face them not alone, but with the Queen, her people, and the lessons of his own kind guiding him. The battle had been won, but the war for survival, influence, and understanding had only just begun. The aftermath of the battle left the Zitherian palace unusually quiet. Energy pulses from the recent fight still lingered in the air, giving the crystal walls a faint, ethereal glow. Kale walked through the corridors, observing the attendants as they repaired damages and organized patrols. The invaders had retreated, but their presence had left a mark, reminders that danger could return at any moment. Kale felt the psychic bond with the Queen pulsing softly. It was no longer a sharp, urgent force. It had become a constant, steady rhythm that reminded him of her presence. He could sense her thoughts, her moods, even when she was far away. For the first time, he felt a real connection, not as a prisoner, not as a mistake, but as a partner. The Queen appeared before him in her usual graceful form, floating slightly above the crystalline floor. Her eyes glowed softly, reflecting both relief and contemplation. "You have changed much, human. The outcome of the battle, and perhaps the future of my people, owes much to you." Kale bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned from observing the Zitherians. "I didn't do it alone. Your people fought bravely. I just helped guide them, the way humans do. We adapt, we improvise, and we don't give up." The Queen's eyes softened. "Yes, and yet, it is more than guidance. The bond that ties us, it cannot be undone without risk. You are a part of my life force, just as I am part of yours. This bond has grown stronger through the battle, and now, a choice must be made." Kale's heart skipped. He had felt this moment coming. The bond had given him insight, influence, and power, but it had also tied his life to hers in ways he could not fully control. He took a deep breath. "A choice?" he asked. "Yes," the Queen replied. "You may return to your people, severing the bond entirely, or you may remain partially linked to me, connected to my civilization, sharing influence, knowledge, and fate. Each path carries consequences. One may bring safety, the other opportunity. And risk." Kale looked out through the palace's crystalline windows at the city below. The streets glimmered with light, energy shields, and reflective crystals still active, protecting the people. He thought of the young Zitherians he had trained, the attendants who had begun to trust him, and the Queen herself, who had become more open, more willing to take risks because of his guidance. Returning to his people meant safety, familiarity, and the freedom to leave this alien world behind. But staying meant influence, responsibility, and a chance to shape the future of an entire civilization. He could help prevent wars, guide strategy, and teach humans and Zitherians to work together. It was a risk, yes, but it was a meaningful one. Kale closed his eyes, feeling the bond pulse in his mind. He could sense the Queen waiting, patient yet expectant. The psychic link had taught him patience, clarity, and trust. He could feel her heartbeat, her determination, and her hope for the survival of her people. Finally, Kale spoke. "I'll stay. Partially. I can't abandon my people entirely, but I won't leave either. I'll remain connected, and together, we can make sure your civilization survives and maybe even thrives." The Queen's eyes glowed brighter, a shimmer of approval crossing her face. Your choice is wise, human. You have taken a path that honors both your people and mine. The bond will remain, tempered and controlled. We will work together, guiding each other and our civilizations. Kale felt a subtle warmth in his chest. The bond was still present, but no longer oppressive. It was a connection he could manage, a bridge between species. He had gone from being an accidental participant to a true partner, shaping decisions, defending the palace, and helping to guide a civilization. The days that followed were full of activity. Though calmer than the chaos of the battle, Kale worked alongside the queen and her advisors, refining defenses, training young warriors, and sharing human strategies that balanced creativity with discipline. His influence grew steadily, but always subtly, ensuring that the Zitharians retained their culture while benefiting from his insights. Kale also found time to explore more of the palace and the city. He marveled at the crystal spires, the flowing energy channels, and the integration of technology and organic structures. Zitharians moved through the city with precision, yet he noticed how small human-inspired adaptations adjustments. He had suggested improved efficiency and morale. Even tradition could evolve without being broken. One evening, Kale and the queen stood atop the highest spire of the palace, overlooking the city bathed in the glow of twin moons. The wind brushed past them, and the psychic bond between them hummed gently. "Do you ever regret this, human?" the queen asked. Kale shook his head. "No, I've faced death, fought wars, and survived impossible odds. This is different, but I've learned more here than I ever imagined. Humans thrive on challenge. I've been given one of the greatest." The queen studied him, her multiple translucent appendages shimmering in the moonlight. "And your people, will they accept your decision?" "They will," Kale replied. "They've trained me to make choices, to survive, and to lead. I can do both, stay here and remain human. It's unusual, but it works." A moment of quiet passed. The city below shimmered like a living jewel. Kale could feel the bond extending, not as a chain, but as a network of understanding. He sensed the queen's thoughts, her plans, and her hopes for the future. It was a powerful, yet peaceful connection. Kale spoke softly, almost to himself. Humans are stubborn, unpredictable, and surprisingly resilient. Maybe that's exactly what the galaxy needs. The queen's mind brushed against his in a gentle echo of amusement. "Your kind will surprise even the oldest civilizations. Perhaps fate is not fixed, after all. Perhaps even a mistake can create new paths." Kale nodded. "I've learned that. One choice, one action, can change everything. Sometimes the biggest mistakes turn into the greatest opportunities." In the following weeks, Kale worked with the queen to strengthen alliances, improve defenses, and train the next generation of Zitharians in ways that balance discipline and creativity. His influence spread quietly, respected and valued, but never forced. The palace and the city thrived under this unusual partnership, a human warrior bound by fate. To an alien queen, the psychic bond, once frightening and overwhelming, became a tool of collaboration. Kale could anticipate challenges, the queen could guide decisions with wisdom, and together they created solutions neither could achieve alone. One day, while training a group of young Zitharians in tactical exercises, Kale realized something remarkable. The humans' creativity and courage had begun to inspire Zitharians beyond the palace walls. Other planets under Zitharian influence had started adopting similar innovations. Blending human ingenuity with Zitharian precision, the queen approached Kale afterward, her eyes bright with approval. "You have done more than survive, human. You have changed the way my people think, act, and prepare for the future. You are no longer a mistake. You are part of our destiny." Kale smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. "And maybe, Queen, humanity has found a place in the stars not by conquest, not by force, but by courage, ingenuity, and the will to do what's right." The Queen's eyes glowed softly, her presence calm yet powerful. "Perhaps, and perhaps, together, we can ensure that fate itself is not fixed, but shaped by those brave enough to act." Kale looked out at the horizon, at the shimmering city, the crystal spires, and the energy flowing through the land. He felt a deep sense of purpose, knowing that the bond he had feared was now a bridge, a connection that allowed him to protect, guide, and influence a civilization. He had come to this world by accident, a mistake in the vast galaxy. Yet now, he was no longer just a visitor or an outsider. He was a human warrior, a strategist, and a partner to a queen and her people. Humanity had become part of the Zidarians' fate, just as they had become part of humanity's future. Kale exhaled slowly, feeling the bond pulse gently in his mind, a heartbeat in rhythm with his own. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and possibilities, but he was ready. Together, humans and Zidarians would face whatever came next, side by side. And Kale knew, deep in his heart, that even a mistaken, unexpected twist of fate could rewrite destiny itself.